It's now emerged that Eskom wants to increase the price you pay for electricity by nearly 37% next year. Eskom is under huge financial pressure, but has not implemented load shedding in nearly 3 months. It currently has a very high level of debt. At the same time, many municipalities are not paying Eskom the money they owe the utility. Professor Sampson Mamphweli is the head of the Energy Secretariat and Research Lead at the South African National Energy Development Institute, SANEDI. Prof, good afternoon to you again. Good to talk to you. For Eskom to ask for such a big increase, what would they be basing this request on? Why would they ask for so much more?
Good afternoon, Stephen and the viewers. You will pardon me, there will be a bit of noise around here. I'm in Spain at a conference center with people moving chairs around. So coming back to your question, what happens is that Eskom looks at the cost of generation, and then they need to recover that cost of electricity generation. And then over and above that, they need to make what we call the minimum allowable profit. So for so many years, the Eskom tariffs have not been cost reflective, and every time they made the submissions to Nersa for tariff increases, Nersa would always come back, allowing them lesser tariffs than they would have requested. You would remember, Stephen, that at some point, Eskom had to approach the court, especially on the regulatory clearing account, where they took Nersa to court so that they can be able to recover the money that they used to produce electricity in previous financial years. So that is basically the basis on which Eskom make the submission to Nersa, is to recover the cost of generation and to make the minimum allowable profit. So if you look at the previous financial year, they've done quite well in terms of, the diesel usage, because it was low, because that is also part of what they include when they do their projections. And the fact that we have gone for 3 months without having load shedding, with them using less diesel, also works to the advantage of society in general. But if you look at their financials in the past financial year, they've done quite well in terms of cost containment, which then works into their projections for the current financial year going forward. So those are the basis, and the debt, the municipal debt, on the other hand, which is above 80 billion rand, is not helping the situation, because that exacerbates the situation when it comes to the liquid cash that Eskom needs to have.
So now Eskom goes to Nersa. Are we going to see another round of this? They ask for a certain amount of money. Nersa says no. Eskom goes to court and wins.
That's what we expect. Because Eskom is never wrong in terms of the calculations that they do. They are very spot on when they do the submissions to Nersa. In most cases, Eskom does not dispute the outcomes of the results. They dispute it only when it comes to the regulatory clearing account. So basically what happens is that whatever Nersa gives, it basically just push forward the debt that we will have on when Eskom comes back on the regulatory clearing account. Because what happens is they're asking for about 37% increase now. Nersa will look at various aspects and then come up with a determination where they can then give them a lesser tariff hike. They can even say 15%. But then Eskom takes that and keeps quiet, and then they at the end of the financial year, they look back at what costed them to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity, and then they work that into the next regulatory clearing account, which basically means that whatever Nersa does in terms of protecting the poor now, it gets short-lived at the next regulatory clearing account, which is where they beat the consumers quite the most.
Aren't we seeing, so Eskom's kind of getting caught in the middle. On the one side, you have illegal connections, which people have tried very hard to stop. And on the other hand, you have councils that don't pay their bills. Then you've got richer, middle-class people, maybe, who are generating their own electricity using solar power. So isn't Eskom getting squeezed in the middle? And people can argue about the tariff and Nersa and court and Eskom and all the rest. But if people aren't paying, it kind of doesn't matter. And doesn't Eskom need to charge something that people can pay? Haven't we entered a spiral where the more electricity costs, the fewer people pay for it?
That's very correct. So Eskom is sitting in a very difficult situation at the moment, which is why it's necessary to basically unbundle Eskom and ensure that we have Eskom transmission and we open up the electricity market for people to be able to participate in that market. If that happens, we won't be seeing these kind of things where the tariffs Eskom is asking these very high tariffs, because there will be a lot more competition from independent power producers, and depending on how we structure the electricity market, even households can start to feed into the electricity grid. And what is happening now with this kind of tariff increases that Eskom is requesting, it's making renewable energy even more attractive and even much more better. I can tell you, Stephen, from my point of view, at home, as things stand, I don't use Eskom power. I don't use any utility power. I use my own electricity that I produce from my own solar panels, because I sat down and then I did the calculations, and I looked at the bill that I was getting from City Power at that particular point in time, and then I realized that with the money that I was paying, I can buy solar systems, a solar system, and then have the break-even point or get my money back within 3.5 years. And that is what many people will start to do. And in the 3.5 years, after 3.5 years, I then have I'll then be using electricity for free for the next 17 to 18 years. So that is basically what is going to happen in terms of the electricity market. Many people will move to renewable energy. It is important that the market gets opened up as soon as possible, so that Eskom does not go in this spiral death that we are facing at the moment.
It looks like you talk about the market opening up, but it seems very hard to see any kind of solution where Eskom survives. I mean, the financial pressure is just too great.
That is correct. So the Eskom needs to basically make profit, and that's what this tariffs request is all about. They need to recover the cost of generation. They've been dealing with load shedding. Thanks to government, they gave them the 256 billion rand to service the debt, so that they can get some money from their balance sheet to deal with the coal fleet. But we need to get to a level where we bring in new generation capacity. And I've seen in their statement, they indicated that the fact that there was a slight delay in the introduction of new generation capacity, especially renewable energy, puts their systems under severe pressure. And it also meant that they need to produce very expensive electricity using the coal fleet that they have to maintain using billions and billions of rands, and also relying on the diesel side of things. So the delays in the implementation of the bringing in of the new generation capacity, which government tried to deal with when they removed the licensing requirements and they came up with the unbundling process for Eskom, has resulted in the situation that we are now. Unfortunately, we need to go through this process so that we then go through other processes such as the unbundling of Eskom and the opening up of the market, so that we can see more renewable energy coming on board. We have seen, Stephen, the ramp up in terms of the small scale embedded generation at household level. We are now sitting at above 6 gigawatts. That's an equivalent of what a government has procured and put into the network in the past so many years. That ramp up happened within a space of 2 years from the time that the government came up with this rebate program, and also driven also by the fact that we had intermittent power supply, which led to businesses and households going to the small scale embedded generation route.
Professor Sampson Mamphweli, thank you very much indeed. Please come home safe to us from Spain. He's the head of the Energy Secretariat and research lead at SANEDI.